Good morning, boys and girls. Today is Friday, February the 22nd, 2019, and it is a busy day here at ECES. We have a guest coming this morning. Author Andre Sullivan is going to be visiting us in the gym today, and he's going to share some of his stories with us. So I'm very excited about that, and I'm so glad that some of you have already purchased some of his books, and we do have 3 of his books in the library too. So let's go on to the next thing that's on our records today. We will be beginning round 7 of the Georgia Book Award battles. In round 6, we had The Rooster Who Would Not Be Quiet versus Sergeant Reckless. You guys voted, and the winner is The Rooster Who Would Not Be Quiet. Sergeant Reckless was a true story about a horse who became a hero. So I really was very interested in him, so I am going to send a link out to your teachers today so they can share more information with you about Sergeant Reckless if you are interested in finding out more information. Today is 2 more books are going to square off against each other in battle. We're going to be reading The Secret Subway by Shannon Corey and The Airport Book by Lisa Brown. So let's begin. The Secret Subway. Welcome to New York, the greatest city on earth. You say it looks crowded, dirty, disgusting? The streets are filled with garbage? Well, you're right. See, back in the 1860s when this story begins, there were no subways here, only cobblestone streets. Push carts and wagons rocked and rumbled. Stagecoaches and buggies jounced and jumbled. Horses kicked up dirt and drivers shouted to be heard. People pressed their way through it all, trying not to get run over. And it just kept getting worse. Something had to be done. From politicians to peddlers, street sweepers to scientists, everyone had ideas. Why not make a moving street so we can get wherever we want just by standing still? What about building double-decker roads or a railway on stilts? But no matter how much everyone talked, nothing ever seemed to get off the ground. Then one day, high above it all, a man named Alfred Eli Beach stared down at the traffic and had an idea of his own. Beach was a thinker, a publisher, and an inventor. His father had owned the newspaper, and Beach had grown up in a simmering soup of letters and words and newfangled notions. He was also a man of action, and if there was one thing he loved more than thinking up ideas, it was making them happen. As Beach studied the street below, the wheels in his brain started to turn. What if he built a train powered by an enormous fan, he wondered. It would travel underground, where there was no traffic or trash or weather to worry about. People would get where they needed to go as if by magic. Beach couldn't wait to get started. He was certain his train could take New York into the future. But there was a roadblock. The streets didn't belong to him. And since this would be a great big, messy, complicated job, permission to tunnel under them would not come easily. So Beach hatched a sneaky plan. He would propose building an underground tube to carry mail instead. It wouldn't be that big, it wouldn't be that messy, it wouldn't be that complicated. No one could object. A mail tube? Why not? people said. Even Boss Tweed agreed. See, Boss Tweed ran New York City. Unofficially, that is. Beach got permission, but he had more on his mind than Mel. Beach rented the basement of Delvin's clothing store, and every day he sent an army of workers into the steps. Every night, after most folks had long been in bed, when even Boss Tweed lay tucked in tight, wagons pulled up in front of the store. The workers tiptoed out and loaded the wagons with pile after pile of dirt and rocks, and then the wagons rolled back into the night. For 58 days and nights, Beach's men tunneled beneath the cobblestone sewers and pipes, moving 16 inches of earth with every press of their tunneling machine, up to 8 feet a day. Until one night, the workers ran straight into a stone wall, and if they removed it, the men knew the whole tunnel might collapse. But they had come too far to stop, so stone by stone, breath by breath, they took the wall down. And when they were done, the tunnel still stood. Then one night, the drilling stopped. The tunnel, 8 feet across and 294 feet long, big enough to hold a train full of people, lined with brick iron, was complete. Now a new army of workers arriving, carrying paintbrushes and plaster curtains and mirrors. When they were done, Delvin's basement resembled a fairyland. Perfect, thought Alfred Eli Beach. It was time to share his secret. A few days later, distinguished citizens, reporters, and government officials all over New York opened their mail and found an invitation. You are respectfully invited to be present on Saturday, February the 26th, 1870, from 2 to 6 p.m. At precisely 2 o'clock on February the 26th, Beach's guests left the city streets and descended into Delvin's. Then, one by one, they entered Beach's spectacular subterranean waiting room. Beach had thought of everything. Gas lights glowed, illuminating paintings and flowers, and a fountain that glittered with goldfish. A grandfather clock rang in the hour. A grand piano played. There was even a tasty lunch spread out on the table. The guests followed Beach down 6 more steps onto a train platform. A single car waited on the tracks. Remarkable, marveled one reporter. The railroad of the future, agreed another. The problem of tunneling Broadway has been solved, cheered the newspaper. That first day, guests simply admired the train, but it wasn't long before the tunnel was open to the public and throngs of visitors climbed aboard. With a flourish, an engineer turned on the great fan. Then, swoosh! A blast of air pushed the train down the tracks. At the end of the tunnel, the train set off a bell. The engineer pulled the rope and whoosh! The fan sucked the train back again. Beach Beach's train was a sensation all winter while wagons slipped and slid on the slushy streets above. People poured into Delvin's for the 25-cent ride. It looked as though Beach's plan was going to work. But wait, some folks weren't so sure about Beach's big idea. Shopkeepers wanted their customers to stay above the ground. Property owners worried that all that tunneling might not be good for their buildings. Others wondered if it might give Beach too much power. And remember Boss Tweed? Well, by now, some of his friends had come up with their own plan for a railroad. And Tweed looked out for his friends. He wasn't going to let some crackpot inventor cut into their business. No. The governor denied Beach's request to expand. Screech! The underground train was stopped in its track. And as time passed and the train didn't go any farther, the city's curiosity wore off and the stream of visitors slowed to a drip. Deep down in the quiet heart of the city, away from the clattering and clanging above, Beach turned off the great fan and sighed. Oh well, there would be other ideas, but he had shown New York that one day people might move beneath the streets, as if by magic. By 1874, the train that went nowhere had closed. Beach rented out the tunnel as a shooting gallery, and eventually it was abandoned altogether. It might even have been forgotten. But many years later, drilling could be heard once again under the streets of New York City. Another underground train, run on electricity, was being built. Workers found lots of surprises as they tunneled. A sunken ship beneath the battery mastodon bones near Dickman Street, subterranean streams in Midtown, and quicksand not far from the City Hall. And in February 1912, 42 years after Beach unveiled his train, they ran into a brick wall. And when the workers broke through, they found themselves inside Beach's tunnel. And there was even a little railroad car rusting in its tracks, and a tunneling machine perched at the end, ready to lead the way forward. The end. And that is the story of the secret subway. So our next book is called The Airport Book. By Lisa Brown. So let's begin. When you go to the airport, you can take a car, a van, a bus, or even a train. Sometimes we take a taxi cab. You drive on the highway to where the ground is really flat. There are lots of people saying lots of goodbyes, and sometimes they hug and sometimes they cry. They have big bags on wheels and smaller bags on their shoulders and backs, and sometimes you can tell exactly what is packed inside the bags. And sometimes it's a mystery. Inside the airport, you stand in lines. You stand in lines to get your tickets. You stand in lines to check your bags. There are lines for the restroom. There are lines to go through security. All kinds of lines. A machine x-rays all the bags you take on the plane. Sometimes another machine x-rays your body. You will also take that with you on the plane. Little sisters cry when they go through the scanner. You walk past benches and shops and restaurants and art exhibits. It's like a little indoor town. And sometimes there are small beeping cars driving through the town. And sometimes the sidewalks and staircases move by themselves. You have to hold your little sister's hand tight or she could get lost. When you reach your gate, you wait and you wait and you wait and you wait. And outside, people are getting the plane ready. They're checking that everything is working and safe and clean and ready to fly. Things are loaded onto the plane. Gas is put into the fuel tanks. Food is put into the galley. Luggage is put into the cargo hold. The crew puts themselves on board and take their places. Now the passengers can board. You wait until your group is called, then walk down the jetway. It looks like an accordion. You squeeze into your seat and some of your bags go up top. Some bags go underneath. And you have to make sure that you have all your books and papers and music and games and toys before the plane takes off. You listen quietly to the safety announcement. You stow your tray table. You buckle your seatbelt tight across your lap. A flight attendant walks up and down the aisle pushing a cart. Sometimes you get something to drink. And sometimes you get something to eat. And sometimes there's a movie to watch. And sometimes there are people to talk to. And sometimes the plane is bouncy, but most of the time it's smooth. Outside there are clouds and clouds and clouds. And when the plane lands, you collect all your things. You say goodbye to the crew and you go to the baggage carousel to find the bags you checked. The bags travel around in a circle. And when you see your bag, you pull it off fast. You have to make sure that your bag is really your bag. And when you leave the airport, you can take a car, a van, a bus, or even a train. We're taking Grandpa's car. And then you do everything all over again in the other direction when it's time to go back home. The end. And that's the story of what to expect if you happen to go to the airport. So I hope you enjoyed today's books. I can't wait to see your votes today and how they fall. And remember, be on your best behavior today. I'm proud of you. Have a good day.